بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، يا غريب يا شهيد كربلاء، ما خاب من تمسك بكم، أمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا النبي المؤيد والرسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. سفن النجاة الأعلام، من ركب سفينتهم نجا ومن تخلف عنها هلك وغرق. ثم أما بعد. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you may recall, yesterday we were speaking about the age of rationalism, and before that the age of modernity, which the youth have been subjected to and have been the target of this particular agenda in place. And today we will move on with the discussion in as far as secularism is concerned. You know, the most fascinating things, yesterday I was searching this topic and I came across a video by a Christian thinker who himself was an atheist. That Christian particular person who's a Christian thinker, says, I got to a stage where I gave up on religion. I couldn't tolerate it anymore. There's so many discrepancies, so many contradictions. Of course, he's speaking from his own point of view, right? Regardless of his belief system, he is talking about his own belief system. So he says, but I came across and I stumbled a study by scientists, and this study is being corroborated day after day. Yani it's becoming cemented knowledge among scholars of today in the 21st century, that he says, which poses a real issue for atheists. What is that issue, he says, that he came across? Is that it's been discovered that the world has a beginning. Scientifically, it's been proven that this world has a beginning. So he says, if this world has a beginning, contrary to what we have been told, how did this particular world commence and begin? Then you have a problem, right? You have a problem, because it can't just come haphazardly by itself. It has a beginning. It means it has been founded. It has been, because you know what? These days we have to find terms to substitute created, because people have a sensitivity towards the word create, right? You know, doctor is laughing. He knows where I'm coming from, right? It's a problem to say the word create, khalq. You have to say founded, you have to found, I don't know what other English terminology they want us to. Search that particular person, and if you don't find it, I will give you the link, inshallah, tomorrow to listen to his take on that issue. So that age of secularism, on the other hand, what is the aim of secularism? What is the aim of secularism? Do you know why secularism is on the rise? It is because it confined the role of religion to the private domain of the individual. What does that mean? You want to be religious? You want to fast? You want to pray? You want? Fine, do it. But don't talk about any other social issues. Don't. That's not your domain, right? We will dictate to you the terms of such domain. You just be concerned with whatever you want in as far as your religiosity is concerned, right? And don't come near us. Just like, for example, some of the leaders or the Umara of Bani al-Abbas, for example, or Bani Umayyah, for example, right? What did they say in their statements when they became leaders over the Muslim Ummah? This is what they said. They said, do you think we became leaders so we can encourage you to pray and fast? You already pray and fast. They told you already pray and fast. Right? So why did you become leader over us? They said, we became leaders over you so that we can control you. Ajib. So that's the issue. It's not about religiosity, right? And as long as you empty society from religiosity in the public domain, right? Then pray as much as you want and fast as much as you want, as long as it is confined to the four doors of the home, right? Because then no talk about justice can prevail, no talk about corruption can take place. None of these issues can take place under the public domain. So secularism came, on the other hand, to confine the role of religion to the private domain of the individual, creating, therefore, a dichotomy between spiritual and mundane. That's a fact. You know, to make that segregation between spirituality and mundane. They don't want spirituality to spread to the street, right? Because then there will be musa'ala, there will be questioning. There will be issues pertaining to many things that relate to the existence of the human being and his rights in society. It denied secularism. It denied religion and its mediating institutions, like the mosque, for example, like the mosque, the role of the mosque. Like any public function and influence in shaping matters of public opinion. If you look at the example of the Prophet Mosque, for example, you know the Prophet Mosque had 4 main pillars when it was built. Do you know that? Go and search or Google the first Prophet Mosque built in Medina. Because there is another mosque that was built outside Medina. But that's not the first mosque. The first mosque in Medina is the Prophet Mosque. But the first mosque in Islam is what? Ahsant, Qiba. That's the first mosque. When the Prophet came from Mecca and he waited for Imam Ali and who? The Fawatim, they called them. Because the Prophet entrusted Imam Ali to bring all the Fawatim with him. Fatima bint Asad, Fatima bint Zubair, Fatima bint Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Right? And he would not enter. He refused, in fact, to enter Medina before Imam Ali would join him in Qiba. And that's where the Prophet established the first mosque. Anyway, beside the point. 4 pillars in the Prophet Mosque. Do you know why these 4 pillars were there? Because the mosque was the main institution for all public domain and matters of interest. So he had a pillar called the pillar of battle, where the Prophet, by the way, it was known in all history accounts, by all historians, that when the Prophet was seated at the pillar of battle, he should not be disturbed. It means he's discussing something of the highest issues pertaining to the Muslim life, because there is an imminent attack on the Muslim entity, right? So no one comes near him at that time. He is having high-level discussion. There is another pillar, it's called Istuwanatul Wufud, the pillar of delegations. So when the Prophet was seated at that particular pillar, it means he's discussing the international and local and national politics of the Muslim Ummah, right? And so on and so forth. And there is another, and that's how he ran the whole community. Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. It was such an institute where all the affairs of the Muslims were discussed. Where do you think the Muslims would go to sort out their matters or to sort out their social affairs? To the mosque, you know, to the leader, to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and those who were in charge of knowledge with him, or that he delegated knowledge to, right? Such as, for example, Imam Ali salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Ibn Abbas, whatever the case may be in that regard. And he would, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi wa alihi at-tayyibin, attend to matters of any social interest in the community himself. So much so, we were discussing just before, subhanallah, the lesson or the lecture started about some of my activities, and I mentioned to His Eminence Sayyid Babahani that I had the pleasure of interpreting a book by the name of Muhammadun fil Quran by Sayyid Rida al-Sadr, the brother of Sayyid Musa al-Sadr. In that book, Sayyid Rida al-Sadr mentions a story about the Prophet. Now it came to mind, subhanallah, thank you Sayyid for reminding me. It came to mind that the Prophet was once going to the mosque just before Salatul Maghrib. It was about, he was about to pray Maghrib. So he's coming out, he was not at home, because the Prophet, to come to the mosque, he would come from his room. His rooms overlooked the actual mosque. That day he was not at home, so he was coming to the mosque. All of a sudden, an old woman stops him. Just prior to the Prophet entering the mosque, she said, "Stop, I have an issue with you." He says, "What is your issue?" She says, "I have a husband at home that is driving me nuts." I'm paraphrasing, of course, right? She didn't say he's driving me nuts, probably, I don't know what she said in Arabic, something else, right? But to paraphrase, and I need a solution. The riwayah says, in the book, it says, the Prophet stood in front of that woman out of respect to listening to her, to show her that he is interested in solving her problem, that the onlooker would think that the Prophet was in a state of ruku'. In a state of ruku', he's bending down, listening to her and to her concern because she's one of his ummah. And then listen what happens. The adhan goes off. The adhan goes off. You know what the Prophet says? Like, sometimes in our cases, it's a relief. You know, when someone comes to discuss a problem with us and the adhan goes off, it's an opportunity to run. It says, inshallah, بعد الأذان, يلا. Good, يعني goodbye. والعياذ بالله. يعني goodbye. Huh? أستغفر الله العلي العظيم. نعوذ بالله أن نكون من ذلك. Anyway, so you know what the Prophet does? He said, Mom, he says to her, Mom, Khala, with your permission, I promise you, والله الذي بعثني في الحق أصلي ثم آتي إليك لنكمل حديثنا. الله أكبر. He says, permit me to go and offer my prayers with my congregation, and I promise you, by the one who sent me with the truth, I'll come back and we'll continue our discussion. This is Rasulullah. This is how leaders are. And this is how leaders should be made. When you take religion out of the equation and you put secularism in its place, you are no longer duty bound to be such a leader. Right? Because there is nothing to compel you. The authority that you relate to, the authority that you are responsible to, is no longer in your conscience. It does not exist anymore. Because you are the one and you are the dictator of these terms from this moment onward. You do not reply or you do not answer to anyone. But in the case of the Prophet, he is accountable to his creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So accountability with religion comes by default because it's an inner system of faith that compels you to be in that state of mind and in that way when you relate to others. Right? But if you are secular, you are atheist, he says, I dictate my own terms. When it suits me, I do it. When it doesn't suit me, I'll brush it aside, right? Because I don't answer to anyone. And this is what is happening in our schools today. Tell me something, those who go to private schools, maybe public schools as well. What is the most emphasized issue when your teachers talk to you in school? What is it? What is the most emphasized issue? How much they highlight the importance of what? Individualism, right? It is your right as an individual. Even if that right as an individual clashes with the right of your parents on you, right? They'll tell you, no, you should think about yourself first. Right or wrong? Right? That's what we've been taught in school. In universities, in academia, it's all about you, the individual, not the society, not the family unit anymore. It does not exist. They promote that sense of individualism in you. Yani it is a sense of what we call in Arabic, a sense of ananiya. Right? Selfishness at its worst. You know, I should live, I don't care if the whole world dies. I should enjoy myself, I don't care if my family suffer, right? If someone, for example, in the family, a dad or a mom, does not have the concern for their kids about their upbringing, about their behavior, about their morality, because they are engaged in something else that satisfies their own carnal desires. How do you convince such a parent that he has a responsibility towards his family if he's not religiously inclined? Right? If he's not religiously inclined. If he does not know the right of his children on him, or the children don't know the right of the parents on them. Huh? Like Imam Zayn al-Abidin says in Risalat al-Huquq, you must know that everything you have and you attribute to yourself in terms of characteristics and attributes belong, and they are originated and fashioned by your dad first. Imam Zayn al-Abidin said, comes from your dad, because he is the reason for your being after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the other hand, Imam Zayn al-Abidin says what? By God, who is like a mom, right? Who is like a mom, where she carried you in a place where no one carries anyone, right? 9 months in her stomach. Wallah, if you pay someone $1 million and tell him just for 9 months, carry me on your back wherever you go for 9 months, would you do it for $1 million? Would you do it? $2 million, $3 million, $5 million. I personally won't do it. Carry him when I sleep, when I wake up, when I go shopping, when I go to the bathroom, when I come out, when I shower, seriously? 9 months. And you know what? And look what the Imam says. And he says in the end, and she sheltered you so that she would be in the sun while you are in the shade. She would stay awake to make sure that you go to sleep. She would she would lay down without food as long as you are fed. And it doesn't end there. It doesn't end. And then it goes on in another hadith by Imam Zayn al-Abidin, when he saw that man carrying his mother and making hajj for her. The Imam said to the man came after Arafat finished, Muzdalifah finished, Mina finished, and the last tawaf finished. Imam Zayn al-Abidin was in the haram. That man comes to him. He says, هل وفيتها أجرها يا ابن رسول الله? Have I satisfied my mother her right on me, يا ابن رسول الله? He said, والله ولا بطلقة من طلقاتها. In riwayah, ولا بهزة سرير من سريرك. Not even with a shake of one shook of a cradle or shake of a cradle. The man lost it. Lost it. He said, really? Not even one, shake of the cradle? He said, yes. He said, why? Why? I want to know why. He said, because you carried her wishing she would die, and she carried you wishing you would live. That's the difference. You carried her on your back to do Hajj while you were thinking, Alhamdulillah, Ya Allah, she's an old woman, she's frail, she's done Hajj, enough, take her. Is it what you were thinking or not? The Imam tells him, isn't that what we are thinking? He said, yeah, somehow, yeah, Imam. Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually. Yeah, because alhamdulillah, she's done, she lived her life. What else does she want? He said, that's the difference between and your mom. Of course, when I talk about this, again, I'm talking about normal parents, not the odd ones. Right? Because we do have odd parents. The odd parents are who? The odd parents are the ones that Rasulullah warned us against. But that doesn't mean you cannot respect them. You need to also keep a level of respect. He said, Rasulullah, not my words. لعن الله أبوين أعانا ولدهما على عقوقهما. You know what that means? May the rahmah of Allah be withdrawn from a set of parents who were the cause of their children turning against them. Allahu Akbar. Do we see these parents or not? Do we see such parents in our communities or not? That they are the cause that their children become recalcitrant and become abusive and they rebel against the parents. Why? Because there's no level of communication or proper upbringing according to the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Ahlul Bayt salamullah alayhim ajma'in. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So between or under the domain of rationalism on one end and the domain of secularism on the other hand, the question that has the whole significance is, where does religion lie in between these two, right? Under the domain of rationalism and secularism, there were questions about the whole significance of religion in the life of our youth. They want to convince you that you can either be rationalistic or secularist, and in between these two, there is no need for you to follow any religion anymore, right? What for? What for? We've already set the scene for you. You can either be a self-centered individual that cares about nothing else but yourself, right? Or you can rationalize things according to when it interests you, right? You rationalize anything when it actually interests you, right? So seeking the question are so common now that seeking ways to encounter the state of confusion and alienation from one's religious and moral roots have overwhelmed our youth and even our elders these days. Not only our youth. It in fact created in them a twofold identity system. One at home and one outside the home. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? Youth today have two identities. One at home, when they come home, they pray, they fast, I pretend, not you. I pretend to be, oh my God, I'm the most religious, I'm the most kind. Once I leave the house, God knows what I become, right? All the values of religiousness, all the values of goodness, all, it goes out of the window. Now I'm with my colleagues, with my peers. If they laugh, I laugh. If they mock, I mock. If they swear, I swear. If they vape, I vape. If they do drugs, I do drugs. I'm being very open. That's the case. It's a reality. It depends on the situation I find myself in. Though I have a responsibility that when I am among the crowd, I should not allow others to influence my behavior. On the contrary, I should be the one who act as a pioneer and a role model to influence others about my agenda, because I also have an agenda. What is my agenda? My agenda is Islam, right? And I should keep that agenda in all my walks of life. Wherever I am, Islam is first. Whether I am on holidays, whether I am at university, whether I'm in school, whether I'm at home, I am one and the same. Imam al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he says, how do we know a mu'min is a true mu'min? How do we know ourselves if we are a true mu'min? Look what he said, the Imam. He says his behavior in private and public are mirror image. His behavior in public and in private are mirror image. They are one and the same. They do not differ. They do not differ. That doesn't mean when you come home you should become serious. You know why? Because you were not serious outside the house. You were joking with your friends, you were jolly, you were happy. Now all of a sudden you become religious. Because in inverted commas, we've been told religiosity means being serious. Can I say something? And please excuse my language. Rubbish. Rubbish. You know why? Because in Islam, being happy and being pleasant is part and parcel of the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, of the Imams salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'in. You know, they, as I said, Imam Ali, he joined all the opposites together. Jama'a bayna al-addad salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. What does that mean? Yani at night, he would sob like a baby from the awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the day, he's a warrior. Right? He doesn't mess with the truth. When someone wants to violate the truth, he's as strong as a warrior. No? He doesn't falter, he doesn't waver. Right? But when he's at home, no, ما حظي السوا ما حظي بك غيرك يا سواك. He's talking about Sayyid al-Zahra. He said, Wallah. He's talking to the siwak. He saw Fatima Zahra once brushing her teeth with the siwak. He said, oh my God, you are the only one who was able to get so close to my wife. Had you been a person, I would show you what I would do to you. Allahu Akbar. He's being pleasant. He's joking with his wife. He's trying to show Sayyidah Zahra how much he loves her and cares for her. How much he has ghira on her. Right? That even the siwak he doesn't want to be close to her. Right? Why can't you be like this with your wife? Huh? Why is it only when you're sitting in Diwaniyah, you're happy and you're joking, and once you come home, Allahu Akbar, something happens. Everything switches upside down. No, that's not the way Islam wants you to be. Even you as a child, go home. The first problem you have is who? You're outside fine with your friends, even if they mock you, even if they do anything to you, because they are your friends and you compete to be what? At the same par with them. The minute you come home, who is the biggest problem to you at home? Your siblings, right? Your siblings. All of us, oh my God, I can't stand this brother of mine, bro. He gives me headaches. What is wrong with you, you little one? Can't you sit down? Look, the little one outside was giving you more hard time than your own brother. Why is it now you can't tolerate him? Right? Because he's your brother. You can mess around with him. You can suppress him. You can do anything. It's your brother who should have more right on you than anyone outside the community. It's your brother first or your sister first, then the ones outside in the community. Right or wrong? He's your blood. He's your flesh. Right? You want to know what brotherhood means? Do you want to know, if I ask you, what is the person, if we were to put a person or the image of what we call muwasat. Muwasat in Arabic. You all understand the term, right? Muwasat. If I say to you, give me a person that represents muwasat, would you name anyone else other than Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas? Salawatullah wa salamu alayh. Ni'mal akhul muwasi. One of the best supporting backbone brothers to his brother. Right? So much so he would not even dare, out of respect to his imam, according to some riwayat, call him brother. Out of respect to Imam Hussein salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. And some riwayat indicates that the only time he said it, when he fell off his horse. Assalamu alayka ya akhi ya Aba Abdullah adrikni. That's the only time he said it. Right? And this is how brotherhood, sisterhood should be. This is how the family unit should be. Don't worry about, sorry to say this, friends. Really? Friends? You know that serious? Friends. I'm gonna take my values from friends. Or neighbors. Don't worry about the Aussies, bro. They don't know what they're talking about. Huh? Neighbors. General Hospital. I know I'm old. You know that series ran for 32 years? It's a series on 32 years teaching what? Teaching nothing but nonsense. Even when it comes to relationships, that is based on nonsense, on hatred, on self-interest, All these are the things that are being infused in all these type of gadgets and media outlets. Now, it created in them, as I said, a twofold identity. The root of this identity crisis is due first to the absence of healthy family life for the young, so they don't want to be in the family. Because the family life, the family dynamics are not healthy enough for them to be there. Like yesterday, someone asked me a question in the other Mejlis. Wallah, I cried. I cried when I read the question. What does the question say? It says, can my mom and my dad swear at me and abuse me? This is the kind of families we want. This is the family dynamics we want to encourage at home, where parents curse at their children, swear at their children. And some of this terminology that parents, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I pray every day from this minbar and every other place I sit at to teach or preach, and firstly teach myself before anyone, is that Allah gives us a tongue as sweet as honey. Wallah, a tongue as sweet as honey. So we know how to talk to others, how, especially our kids, how to show them that loving side of us. Rasulullah, Imam Ali has a statement, Allahu Akbar, about, this family dynamics, how they promoted it, salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. He says, when you come home, begin with the girls before the boys. Allahu Akbar. So that she does not feel left out. Because the girl is sensitive. She loves these emotions. So when the dad comes, the first person that he should greet and hug and kiss and cuddle is his daughter. And that's exactly what Rasulullah used to do with Sayyidah Zahra. Salamullah alayh. Aisha, the mother of the believers, the wife of the Prophet, you know what she says? She says, I have never seen a relationship of a father-daughter loving relationship like that of the Prophet with Fatima. And she goes on. She says, whenever she would come to visit the Prophet, he would stand up, vacate his seat for her, take her by her hand, kisses it, then he asks her to sit in his place. Ajib wallah. Ajib. Respect is given, not earned. Respect, is earned, not given. You need to earn respect. And this is Rasulullah with his daughter. And then she says what? She said, and she would reciprocate. So when the Prophet would go to her, she would vacate her seat, take the Prophet by the hand, kiss his hand, and she would ask him to sit in her place. Forget this. Look at Dua Kumail. Dua Kumail. The classical example of an amazing, orchestrated, symphonic morals of akhlaq, of how we should talk to one another. It's a symphony of akhlaq. Imam Hassan enters the house, knocks at the door, Assalamu alayki ya ummah. What does Fatima says? Wa alayka assalam ya waladi wa ya qurrata ayni. Hadith al-Kisa. Ahsant. Hadith al-Kisa. And then what? كأني أشم عندك رائحة جدي رسول الله. Not, is Pop here? Pop? Who's Pop? Allahu Akbar. كأني أجد عندك رائحة نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. So he goes, السلام عليك يا رسول الله وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء يا رسول الله. رسول الله نعم لقد أذنت لك أنت. And Hussein comes, Imam Ali comes, Sayyidah Zahra, the same methodology. Teach. And the problem is we read this dua, right? We read it in our good times, in our weddings, but do we do it? Do we apply it? Right? When a kid comes home, hey mom, what's cooking, bro? What? Is that the first thing you ask mom when you come home? What's cooking? And then when the mom wants something from from the kid or the child, mama, give, what? From the milk that they drink from the cows non-stop? What? Adab. Yes, mom. Can I do something to you? You are the blessing. You are the, you force your akhlaq on your mom. One day I went to my mother. My mother is 94-year-old, by the way. May Allah bless her, give her long life. I'm 60. I'm not a kid. I go to her, I sit in her lap. She said, get out of here, bro. What are you doing? I said, Mom, I want to sit here because Jannah lies here. Do whatever you want. Get upset. I'm sitting here by hook or crook. She laughs. She smiles. She says, what do I do with you? You will always be a child. Right? This is... This is how we should be. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wants us to be like this. Create this kind of atmosphere in our homes, with our parents, with our children. Who do our children have other than this home? To protect them, to look after them, to read them, for the kids to feel that they are warmly accepted, even if they do wrong. You know that? Even if they do wrong, we should always emphasize to our kids that your home will always be the home that will hold you and look after you, even if you fall. Even if you fall. You know why? So they don't go out and seek help outside the home environment. Because the minute they know they cannot talk about their problems to their parents, that's the minute when they go outside and they will go into 1,000 tangents of wrongdoings. Right? Because a kid like them, when they go for advice from a child like them, for example, or someone of similar age to them, 17, 18, 19, 14, whatever, what does this person know about life to advise them? If, for example, says, things at home are so difficult, I'm thinking of leaving. The other guy is going to tell him, no, bro, don't do that. It's wrong. You know what the answer is going to be? Do it, bro. Of course, do it. The government will give you housing, at least in the West. You go tell them my parents are abusing me, they'll tell you, what do you want? You want to leave them? Okay, let's go home. They'll go home, they'll tell to the father, did you beat your child? He said, I didn't beat him, I just told him, hey. He said, this constitute what? This constitute? Ahsant. It constitute attack. They call it attack. It's assault, ahsant. It constitute assault. So by putting your hand on your child without his permission, it constitutes assault. So the police officer says to the parent, you know what? Since your child is making a claim against you for assault, now you have no right to tell him what to do. He wants to leave the house. So we are here with him, waiting so he can pack his stuff and leave. Under the guise of the parents. Under the guise of the parents. And the father stands there, helpless. Helpless. He can't do anything. The child goes in with a male or female, by the way. Male or female. Pack the stuff and leave. You never see them again. Never see them again. This is, so the absence of healthy family life for the young. Oh my God, I'm running out of time. Subhanallah. Yesterday there was, okay. So today is the day of Muslim ibn Aqeel. Another amazing personality as a role model. As a role model. Right? As a role model. Inshallah, we'll continue our lectures. Alhamdulillah, we have these beautiful faces attending every day, and it is indeed an honor and a blessing to have you every day. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muslim ibn Aqeel is sent as a messenger on behalf of Imam Hussein to Kufa, because the Imam had received all these thousands of letters. Come to us, we're ready to give you bay'ah. Go, Muslim, suss out the situation. Interesting that the relationship between Muslim and Imam Hussein is that Imam Hussein is the maternal uncle of Hamida, because Muslim ibn Aqeel was married to Ruqayya, the daughter of Imam Ali salawatullahi salamu alayhi. So he is the khal of Hamida, right? So not only cousins from one end, but also he's the maternal uncle of Hamida. So he goes, cut it short because I don't have time. He goes slowly. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad feels the pressure. So he starts tightening the situation on Muslim ibn Aqeel. He starts threatening the people of Kufa. Anyone seen to give support to Muslim, his money will be confiscated, he will be thrown in jail, his children will be persecuted. You name it, every kind of persecution happened in the city of Kufa. So towards the most critical time of the message of Muslim ibn Aqeel, he calls for a meeting in Masjid al-Kufa. He says everyone goes there. So they go to see what is he going to say. By the time he finishes his Salatul Isha, he turns back, there is no one. No one except Hani ibn Urwa and all these people who, some of them who initially, Hani ibn Urwa wasn't there. Initially, Hani ibn Urwa received him, but Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad then confiscates Hani ibn Urwa. They jail Hani ibn Urwa and the other supporters of the journey of Muslim ibn Aqeel. He leaves the mosque. Now, Muslim has no one in Kufa, as you know. He's Gharib. Gharib, Kufa is not his city. He's a Medinian boy. He's a Medinian man. He was raised and born in Medina, right? He goes out and then his legs lead him to a place that he finds solace in. He sits in front of a door. An old woman comes out by the name of Tawa. She says, Ya Abdullah, why are you sitting in front of my door? I'm a woman who lives alone with her only child and he's not here. What can I do for you? He says, I need a sip of water. She goes, brings him a sip of water, comes back. She finds him sitting down again. So she asks him, Ya Abdullah, why are you sitting in front of my door? I told you I cannot, have a man sitting in front of my door. So he says, and she says to him, La ujizu laka al-qu'uda ala bab bayti. Islamically, I don't allow you to sit in front of my door. At this stage, in this moment, Muslim cries. Salamullah. He says, Ana ghareebun waheed. I'm a stranger in this land. I'm alone. I have no one. She says to him, why are you without a family and a clan or a tribe or a ashira? Where is your ashira? Where is your clan? He said, I don't have anyone. I'm not from here. She says, who are you? He says, Ana Muslim ibn Aqeel. I am Muslim, son of Aqeel. قالت له, she said to him, you are the one who was betrayed by the people of Kufa. He said, yes, that is me, Muslim ibn Aqeel. She said to him, may I be sacrificed the clan of Hashim, because Taw'a was one of those who was loyal to Ahlul Bayt. He said, would you allow me to spend the night at your home? She said, yes, come inside my house. She prepared a meal for him, but he would not eat. He asked for water again. He prepared himself for prayer. After taking his wudu, he began to pray all night long until the army of Ibn Ziyad came and circumambulated the house, because her son Bilal had already came to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad and told him, there is a strange man in our home, I believe to be Muslim ibn Aqeel. He woke up after a slumber, seeing the Prophet in his dream, saying to him, O Muslim, soon you will join us with Ali and Ja'far and Fatima al-Zahra. Then he stood up and began to say, أقسمت أن لا أقتل إلا حرا وإن رأيت الموت شيئا نكرا. Then Muslim went out and he began to battle those members of the army. Then they separated into groups. One group would throw him with stones, the others with arrows, and one stood in the middle fighting him with the swords. He killed a huge number number of them. Then Bikr ibn Humran sent to Ibn Marjana, saying to him, send more aid, we can't overcome Muslim ibn Aqeel. He sent him more aid and said to him, what would you have done if I had sent you to someone who's better than him, meaning Al-Hussein Aba Abdullah. Then this man Bikr said to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, you have sent me to a man who is worth all the warriors of Kufa, someone who does not fear to die no matter what we do. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad instructed Bikr ibn Humran to trick Muslim ibn Aqeel, for they will never be able to overcome him except if they use treachery. They dug a hole and covered it with the branches of the palm tree, and they began to lure him towards it by fighting him in front of him by a duel battle, and he would come towards them until he fell in that particular hole. يَعُزُّ عَلَيْكُمْ يَا مُؤْمِنِينَ. They gathered on him, they tied his hands, and they pulled him out of the hole or the ditch with his hand tied, and they took him towards the palace of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Taw'a was looking from her roof of the house, looking at what happening to Muslim ibn Aqeel. She cried out, عذرا يا رسول الله مما يفعلوه بمسلم. We bid you pardon, O Rasulullah, for what they are doing to Muslim ibn Aqeel. Until they brought him to the door of the palace. He was thirsty and tired. He wanted a sip of water. One of the people standing there, he said, by Allah, we will never give you a sip of water until you come to Jahannam. Muslim said, me comes to Jahannam, but I will approach a God who is merciful and clement. Then they took him inside the palace. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was sitting there. He did not greet him. One of the people said, why don't you greet the Amir with the stature of his imara? He said, by Allah, he is not my Amir. My Amir is none other than Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. Ibn Ziyad became so angry at hearing the courage of Muslim. He said to him, Wallahi la aqtulannaka sharra qatla. By Allah, I will kill you in a manner that you've never seen in your life. He said to his people, take him to the palace, to the top of the palace, and sever his head. Allahu Akbar. Before they did this, he asked for respite to pray 2 rak'at of salah. He prayed the 2 rak'at and began to cry. They said to him, the man who does what you do or seeks what he wants, he should never cry if he's being captured in the way you've been captured. He said, not for that, I'm crying for my family who will come as captives. I'm crying for Hussein and his family. After he finished his prayer, he turned towards Medina and said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya ibn Rasulillah, Ya'uzzu alaykum ya mu'mineen. While the people under the palace are looking towards the roof, all of a sudden they see a body being thrown from the top of the palace. The body is followed by the head of Muslim ibn Aqeel. Rahim Allah man nada wa muslima wa shahida. When Imam Hussein reached an area called Zurud, he met 2 people from the clan of Asad. He said to them, how did you leave Kufa? That was a while after Muslim had died. They said to him, "O Abu Abdullah, we never left Kufa until we witnessed the death of Hani ibn Urwa and Muslim ibn Aqeel. They were being dragged on the streets of Kufa." Imam Hussein said, "Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un." He asked for Hamida, went towards his sister Zainab. He said, "Bring Hamida for me." He took Hamida, made her sit in his lap, began to run his hand over her hair and head. Hamida said, "Tell me, did something happen to my father?" Imam Hussein said to her, "I am your father now, O Hamida, and my daughters are your sisters." She said, "I know that something happened to my father. You only do this to orphans when they lose their parents. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un." Imam Hussein began to cry. Then Sukaina began to calm Hamida down. Imam Hussein, when he saw his daughter Sakina calming Hamida down, he looked at her and she said, "Kanni biki ya Sukaina." Allahu Akbar. It is as if, "Oh Sukaina, soon I can see you becoming an orphan yourself. Who is going to caress your hair? Who is going to seat you in their lap and show you love and mercy?" Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. Last time together with from the bottom of your heart. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. بحق محمد وآل محمد وبحرمة الفاتحة تسبقها صلوات.